The bounce, 5 series wins, I should say, sitting in first place already with that upper bracket secured. As for Ion, currently sat in 4th and are hoping to keep it that way. Already 3 points up above Direwolves. Any single point here today would just give them an extra little bit of breathing room.
Yeah, and we heard Sean in the interview talk about how, it's not about taking it slow now. They want to, keep the foot on the pedal and really secure first place for themselves because they want to keep staying in form, being such a strong roster, and make sure they, going into playoffs and then hopefully going into PCS for them, they will be the best side they can be.
Here's what we're hoping for, right? We certainly do look to try and rally around the boys once they make their way overseas. We want them to certainly have their best foot forward and really showcase that, it's not a case of us being this really depleted region. We certainly have a lot of talent down under, and it has been proven with them finding success with boot camps overseas or even being, imported to those major regions as well. But I'm excited in particular for Fido here, right? The fact that we've not seen mid-Israel at all this year, let alone ever, I want to say. I think the only thing that comes to mind would have been the AP Israel that Predav played a couple of years ago, but I have to fact check to see if we've seen it in mid, because it just feels classic Fido-esque, right? Give me an AD champion, it could be the Varus, it could be this. Forget about Tristana, it doesn't always have to be that option.
Yeah, he's one of our premier cooks. He's always coming out with these, sneaky picks, trying to abuse the meta, trying to help his team style just be even better. So it's nice to see they're building the repertoire of champions even more, and his champion pool of 80 carries just keeps growing every single week. But I also really like the Braum pick this game, because I think that Leona as a champion does have weaknesses when versing these champs who are really good at peeling, and she can't really lock down mobile champs like the Zeri, so making sure that if Hexflash does decide to go in, he's going to get hit with the passive, going to be stunned up, going to take a lot of damage. I think Braum is really good into these engaged champs, and especially paired with these double 80 carriers.
Yeah, we sort of talk about the difference between like an Alistair as well as a Braum. Well, I guess in this case, right, you are anticipating that Leon is going to go on in, take them up with concussive blows to say, well, you're already overextended with that Zenith Blade, now you can't even move. And Limis, so early on, as soon as they hit level 2, just skates right over that wall and into their face.
Yeah, that's the aggression that we're used to seeing from Limis. We talked about how these guys are both very lane-focused players. Finding level 2 first against the Ashe is not something you're used to seeing, but they really, use that little window to create a little advantage. This is why we get to see Limis be one of the best players when it comes to early game stats.
He certainly is, very lane dominant. Let's see what Jovi can do here as well, as he trades aggressively there with Fido and tries to see what they can find. But then Fido gets a bit of momentum here, all in with the flash, finds first bloods. I tell you what, Fido says these unique champions, you just cannot match me.
Yeah, just a really, really nice, easy kill from Fido, trading really well in and out of the creeps, and then uses his cooldown advantage to find the execution on the Zervi. Press the attack Ezreal, very strong in the early game, so to make sure you do not misstep, tank that Essence Flux Mystic Shot combo, which means just so much damage.
So much damage, and instantly the TP comes back out to try and salvage something here. But that's a really nice heads-up play, right? So much mobility, as do Ezreal, a champion that we talk about needing to try and snowball early on. And actually, the link up, the telepathy between himself and Limis is go back to base, shop, double purchase on the Cole, because we just believe that this early game is going to be free.
Yeah, it's just the classic, third or fourth wave base, buy the Cole, just a nice laning item to have, make sure you scale up. But, Tian going down very low on the top lane. Does he have access to the Q?
He certainly does. Gets a lot of HP back as a result. Turns it around with the stun. Slice once, slice the second time. Not to be found. Doraemon Mayvat played him here. The flash, body slam back on in. And now they're both waiting for cooldowns. And they're just not quick enough. That was so close, but this is what we sign up for.
And he doesn't have a point in the barrel, so you cannot find the exit on the, the kill on the exit. But really well played by both of them, knowing their limits. It looked like Tien was going to go down there, but he's just doing a really good job at abusing that Fury, Cull the Meek, and make sure he's in the creep wave to get as much healing as possible before he pops that one.
Yeah, really nicely done there. It's certainly going to mean that for both these junglers, actually, there's a few different considerations as to where we should go. Do you look at the mid lane and say, well, this Ezreal has no mobility? Or do you go towards the top lane and say there are no flashes left? Actually, speaking of then, both junglers have pathed all the way up to the top side. Going to see what they can find here. But all the action's found in the bot lane instead. Curate getting aggressive, gets turned around by that Zenith Blade. Instant flash away, that auto with the ignite. It wasn't enough! The flash to secure it, and Sticks in the 2v2 gets a dub.
Yeah, and this is... When you look at Braum, Braum's really good at disengaging champions, but he is not good at being the aggressor. He does not have the same base damage that Leona has. We see Hexflash using the 3 spells onto Kurak, and his health bar just melts. Pair that with Ashe in the early game. Press the attack against Conqueror is going to mean you have more upfront damage, and there's so much damage going on to Kurak. Falls down even though he blew the flash.
He certainly did. Lots of exposed lanes now. These next few minutes will be precious in terms of making sure it remains stable, especially now that level 6 is starting to come on through. Bit of a paradise then for a jungler to pop their head out of that one. No camps to clear as it stands right now, so a chance to see what they can find on a more PvP-based metric.
Close to 6 minutes.
Coley is looking for Fido. The damage comes out, started off, looking to try and get in with the lockdown. The seismic shove is fantastic, and he's going to be stunned for the meantime. The damage, is it enough? As Coley's going to have to do it all on his own.
Fido?
The pebbles aren't there. The essence flux pops, and instantly Coley has to run too.
Yeah, Jovi was 1 minion off hitting level 6, and that would have been killed. Have to see if the True Shot Rush does land.
Oh my
nice
god.
flash.
He was watching. He was not stabbing those jungle camps, looking at Boris in the shop. He was thinking, you know what, I need to make sure I do not die to that True Shot Barrage.
See, this is really nice by Ground Zero. Kurak coming to mid lane, making sure that, this wave can get pushed out by Fido. We see Shern once again with the CS lead because he's really abusing the fact that, Coley cleared a bit slower than him, so he got to seal away the 2 camps on the top side, gets the grubs himself. And we're just seeing, I think, the natural veterancy of Shern and how good he is in these matchups. It just, nothing's really happened in the jungle dynamic this game, but he already has such a big lead in his 1v1, and that's just going to snowball towards the mid game.
It's just his comfort, absolutely. Every single time we see him in an AP jungler, you think, yeah, this is not going to be close. You need to try and find some other angle to approach it, because if you try and match it, he's shown it enough times this split alone to say it is not going to be worthwhile. So we'll have to wait and see, though. Yet to find that first gank. The first one, obviously, on the side of Ion was pressure. But as you mentioned, 1 minion could have been the difference between them finding that retaliation back, but not to be at this stage of the game. See them looking towards the bottom half of the map now, just doing a bit of counter jungling, quite honestly.
Yeah, and this map state should favor Ion. Doraemon should do a really good job playing the weak side here. I think it's quite difficult to dive him if he plays that well. If Ground Zero continues to be aggressive here, we'll see the level 6 come out of Coley really soon. He might be able to impact the spot lane. Yeah,
level 6 is actually available there for the Lemus, or for the bot lane of Ground Zero. So Lemus gets aggressive with the Lightning Crash and make sure that they don't get too far ahead of themselves. And Shadow Crystal Arrow is there to try and match it, whether or not they use it in the lane. We'll look to try and find one of these cross-map plays because Tien's already bored. He's proxying waves, and all across the map it's looking at Ground Zero being aggressive. They have to show a bit of restraint now because Coley's been patient and said, you cannot get away with this one. So advanced in that lane. Out comes the air shot. Lemus with no cleanse, with no flash, only escape to safety. But is that enough? He's frantically running to the mid lane, but he won't find any sanctuary there because Fighto's also under attack. Shunfire has to be drawn away from that jungle. Lemus is hanging on for dear life, 20 HP and a dream, and just out of range of everything. Out comes the sleep, and that was the pill he needed.
The discipline to not go in there by Sherd is not something that I would have personally had. I would have gone for the damage, but really nice to see they disengage that. Lemus lives on a minuscule amount of health, and Jovi almost finds a solo kill in mid, but really nice flash by Fido to dodge down that last Q and survive on such a small amount of health.
So close either way. Both those fights could have certainly turned things around in a much more Ion-favoured scenario. They are still only lagging behind by about 800 gold at this stage, so the early game is definitely benefiting them, but as you say, yes, it's becoming a bit of a jungle diff very quickly.
Yeah, and just see the constant aggression coming out of the Ground Zero side. Coley is 1 camp of getting the level 6, which, won't really change his power that he has in these skirmishes, but just really unfortunately, he's just not being able to find his camp. Shern does have the upgraded Smite. It's going to be off cooldown really soon. Coley does not have access to his, so it's going to be a very easy steal for Shern.
Yeah, it's rough there. You can see that they're just letting it go back and forth, resetting, and then saying, well, it's just going to come down to a Smite fight. And as you mentioned, Shern simply just wins that up by 33 CS to combine with that 2-level leads. Really is Shern's paradise right now because he's keeping up farm with his laners.
Yeah, and the whole time Iron was pressuring bot lane, Shern was in the top side, stealing away camps, always making sure he's being as aggressive as possible. He's probably the strongest member on the map right now for both teams, so anyone who runs into him will be in trouble because the amount of power he has right now, especially if he recognizes Coley is not here, is going to be lights out for the Iron bot lane.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It's going to be an absolute menace. On Vision doesn't really care. Styx does manage to get that base off successfully, but Hexflash doesn't have the luxury, unfortunately. The next wave arrives, and so does the gank attempt. True Shot Barrage from mid to bot. The Ash ult from base, not to connect. Hexflash ran to the left. Where's the ult? Was this tucked in right next to that tower? Jovi's TP'd in, but the fight's already finished. We then take a bit of a stock check of top lane and see that that's not changed anytime soon as well. They continue to be incredibly aggressive, and Jovi really unlucky not to stop that one.
This is a bit of breathing room for Cole. Doesn't decide to steal away all the cans. Instead, he's rotating to top to try save his top lanes. Tien does have the flash though, so he does have the potential to be able to outplay this one.
He's got the stun, primed and ready to go. Holds it for the very last second to try and escape out of that Talia minefield. It wasn't to be enough in the end. Doraemon's had enough of it. Hits him with that body slam flash, covers so much ground and gets it done in the end. Fighter responding with a TP of his own to try and make a laning gank happen, and also is going to be denied.
Yeah, and we just get to see the constant covering from Ground Zero. This is something they're so good at. Every time someone falls down, something else is being traded on the other side of the map, or someone is teleporting to making sure that there is some coverage happening. Jovi might be in a lot of trouble here, does have access to the Fate Unsealed to get out of this gank, but if this Q does land, he's going to have to pop it.
Going to have to make sure he keeps having those fancy feet. Actually turns it around, says, watch this. I can do a little bit of damage. Jaws out another projectile and then finds safety in Hex Flash, tag teaming up in the mid lane. And so let's hold this 3-man attempt as a 2-man unit. Really nicely done there for him not to feel under any kind of threat. That really shows the confidence he has on this champion.
Yeah, that shows the comfort he has on the champion. Really nice use of the E to, underrated interaction is you can buffer CCs with the Yoni. That's why we see it in the Zoe matchup. Before the sleep pops, you snap back and you deny that CC. So the same thing happens there where he denies the slow coming out of Lemus. And just a really good job to outplay that without having to blow his resources.
Well, it's taken about 11.5 minutes for us to actually look at our very first objective. Well, at least towards those dragons anyway. 5 of those Void Grubs have gone the way of Ground Zero, so they're going to be sitting very pretty on the top half of the map. All 6 now to be confirmed, so their siege is absolutely through the roof. But for, I suppose, a win condition that Iron can look to try and play towards. It's taking a little bit of time to get this dragon, but they'll at least have that under their wrap.
Yeah, and, talking about win conditions, the main one for Ground Zero right now will be Shern, but also, Fido is doing a really good job. I think it's also underrated. 80 carries in mid lane. They do so well with these extra levels. Their base damage is so high already, and that's the reason why we see them in, when they get so much solo experience from these supports roaming, they become so strong. So being a solo laning 80 carry means you're going to be so ahead of the curve when it comes to your damage output. We have to see, when we get to the mid game, when Fido has those 2 items, the amount of damage his Mystic Shots will start doing.
Yeah, certainly will pack a bit of a punch right now. Only about 10 CS between the two of them before that Cole gets cashed in, and suddenly that CS lead jumps just a little bit further ahead in their favor. And whilst there has been a relatively passive game from the kill count, it's only been one of rather meticulous nature, looking to try and always eke out minuscule advantages in those straight 1v1s. And Tien finds himself now a 1v2, so instantly activates the Dominus. Primed and ready to go with the stun to lock in place one. The Conqueror stacked up right now and says, you know what, I don't know if I win this, so how about I just trim this way? A couple of turret shots and then actually dies to his own slice and dice.
Yeah, Tien had no way out of that whatsoever. It would have been a miracle if he did survive that one or manage to turn it around, but he gets the wave in the end, so there's going to be no trade from Ion onto that top lane turret yet. And once again, Shern always stealing away something, always being aggressive on the map, making sure that whenever Coley shows he's doing something else on the other side of the map, it just constantly foot on the pedal that he keeps talking about.
Yeah, and just, as you mentioned, pops his head into mid lane and says, let's just take a few turret plates. What is this Yoni going to do about it? Has to just watch and say, well, I have no protection. I don't think I win in a 1v2. So now across comes Hex Flash, looking to try and offer a little bit of support. Gets the Curek there, just saying, well, are you going to actually attempt to go for me? Styx says, this cannot go unpunished. And they literally drop everything on his head to send him back to base for the 3rd time.
Yeah, just a bit of disrespect from Kurak there. Does have the flash, does have the Merc Trace, so I can understand why he feels a bit safer that he was there. Isn't so bad to trade the flash for a lot of the ults coming out of the Ion bot lane, because that affords you so much pressure on the map. But does fall down there, and that's going to be a kill going over to Collie. So he's, we look at the inventories right now, and even though Shern is so far ahead, they're sitting on quite similar power, even though I assume Shern is sitting on some gold right now. It doesn't really matter if he gets CC'd by the Ion side, and if he gets blown up in these team fights, we get to see the rest of the lanes of Ion doing so well, matching up in terms of combat power. Blade of the Ruined King already coming out to Joby to match the Triforce from Fido, so I think that Ion are very happy going into this mid game with the game state so far.
And it's an interesting one, right, as you mentioned, as to what do we look for next? What is that next major focus? Herald obviously being taken right now by Schoenfire single-handedly on Vision, but they don't really seem to care about that one. But itemization-wise, at least, it is very even, because the Kraken Slayer is being picked up now. The only one behind without a Mythic would be Tien. So if a fight were to break out, I'm sure Iron can say, look, yeah, we can see on the scoreboard they're behind nearly close to 2,000, but they should be pretty ramped up to go for that. I say it, Coley then falls them down in the jungle, and maybe it just won't happen.
Yeah, and this is just Ground Zero was set up top side, Iron was set up bot side, so Coley disrespects the vision control they have, and he tries to rotate over vision, and you know what happens when you walk into the blind jungle? You die.
Very scary, that one. You just caught me off guard there with the cliffhanger of like, yeah, you just die. That's just
it.
what happens, unfortunately. Life isn't as easy as we made it out to be, I suppose, in the jungle. Oh, yeah, you just go around taking camps all day like an Ivan. That's not all, sunshine and rainbows, unfortunately, but Grands are going to be feeling pretty happy about this one. Jovi going to unleash himself from the bot lane for just a second, but Grands already grouped up as 4, say, you know what, let's get this turret, let's take it now. In jumps Hexflash, drops the Solar Flare, and the Weaver's Wall, it's good, but it doesn't completely lock off the lane. And it makes it quite easy then for Grands just to take the tower and disengage after.
Doraemon, he's looking for it.
Certainly is looking for it, won't go for the bomber. It holds it for the end, just gives him a nudge. Back to their tier 1.
3-man sleep.
And that is a disgusting sleep right there. Jovi jumps on in. Hexflash follow things up with the Zenith Blade to start. And then Coley gets the kill. Kurak dead to start off this fight. And Schönfire's been slowed on down. Doraemon pops him in place, but the heal is good. And then Jovi finds access onto Lemus, who cannot simply dash across that wall. The flash
Fido's here.
Cover enough distance, but it's a double for Tien. He's still relatively topped up and healthy. But this Yone is doing so much in tandem with the Talia. But it does get put to rest in the end, and Ezreal now has the double buff.
Yeah, and that's just the Merc Tread spike coming out of Shern. It was so clutch, the fact he was able to flash out before he got locked up by the CC, and going to replay, we can see straight away, Hex Flash aggresses onto Shern, but, thanks to the Merc Tread, he's able to get out of this fight. There's just not the follow-up coming out of the Ion members yet, and we see the whole time, Fido is in top lane. This is just a straight, 5v4, and this was going pretty evenly for the Ground Zero side. Lemus really respects the bomber there, holds the flash, and I just think it's a really good re-engage from Ground Zero, but this is what happens when Lilia doesn't have the flash. It's so hard to get into the fight. And, unfortunately, Jovi doesn't find this huge combo that he wants to with the Fate Unsealed, but you get to see the strength of the Yone right now with that one item and how strong he can be at this point in the game.
Yeah, blow the Rune King, and you basically say, look, I am full build at this point, being very pretty in this one. Concussive Blows tags up Doraemon, just looking for the stun, and there it is, tagged up then by Fido, acting as that pseudo-AD carry, whilst Lemus roams the map elsewhere. But Doraemon is a lucky man, and they show a bit of reprieve, so they let him get away on this occasion.
Yeah, it's going to be the classic tank who doesn't take damage from Ezreal because Ezreal doesn't do damage to me. But as we scale up into the game, maybe they'll be different. Maybe Fido might go for something like a Blade of the Rune King just to take down this tank. But, there is also, on the other hand, he doesn't have to be the one to kill the tank. He has the Lily, he has the Zeri, who are really good at blowing up these tanks, especially with Leandry, especially with the LDR coming out later from Lemus. So his job is to just create space and just be a nuisance and finally find those angles later on in the teamfight to execute these squishy members.
So he is, and I think he's found himself a fair bit of luxury with those 2 item spikes already in place. He's got the Static Shift, he's got the Runearns, his AoE potential is really going to hit like a truck, especially when the ultimate is ramped up and ready to go, but that wave clear too. You can just bounce between these waves and keep Iron responding as opposed to trying to be the ones to engage.
Yeah, and he's sitting on the full tier right now, so when he does find the gold, he finds the reset, he will be able to pick up the Rune Mana, but Shona is walking in without flash here.
Yeah, it could be a bit of a dicey situation as they look to try and contest the enemy red buff right now, but as Jovi comes out of that one, he looks to try and follow up that fantastic Solar Flare onto 2. That's the Wombo combo you look for. Doraemon's not here, he has no TP, nor does Fido, who continues to push in the bot lane, but it's all about Tien right now, who finds a double. He doesn't burn the Ignite, now he does in the end with Leandry's assistance. And look, these fights, it took a bit of time, Tally, but we're finally seeing what these comps are built to do.
Yeah, I'm going to need to see a replay for that one because I'm not sure how Styx took so much damage there. Was that the AoE coming out of Shona, or was that Lemus by himself who just blew him up? Because it looks so good for Ion. Jovi did such a good job to lock up Lemus with the Fate Unsealed, and all the members from Ground Zero were split up, so it looks so favorable for Ion. But once again, it's just going to be Ground Zero who just eke out this tiny advantage.
Certainly do. Let's run it back with a replay like you want and see how it all begins, because it's very difficult for the Lilia in a situation like this.
Yes, we see Styx get initially engaged onto by Lemus, and he looks pretty healthy right here. You think the positioning should be very good, but he does fall down to a lot of the AoE coming out of the members from, Ground Zero, so it's just a lot of, Shern plus Lemus, and then followed up by Thien to finish him off. But a lot of kills going over to Collier. This is going to be very, very good for Ion. He is their main AP threat. He's going to be doing so much damage, especially against a low range team like the Braum and the Renekton, who has to dive into him. And I think that with the front line of Doraemon, he doesn't really have to worry too much about the damage coming out of this Ezreal.
Yeah, absolutely. Is the most fed member on the side of Iron right now. Only shortly behind is that of Jovi. What was he cooking here on this occasion as Tien will look to try and split push, has drawn back Shobi to try and entertain the idea of another 5v4, maybe in a similar situation. He will bully out Doraemon on the flank, looking to try and protect this tier 2, and the Herald will not guarantee that another tower will fall on down. Iron, unfortunately, have yet to find a tower to try and get a little bit of passive lane push of their own. And again, it just kind of continues this narrative that Ground Zero can go all over the map, continue to push, and Iron just have to respond.
And they have so much vision skimming. It's really scary for Ion to walk in blind right now. They don't know what's going on. This Baron won't necessarily die extremely fast, but if the Iron members do not react or do not feel like this Baron is being started right now, it's going to be such a free objective for Ground Zero, especially with the amount of damage coming out of Shern right now.
Yeah, so passive as Hex Flash right now. He puts a very defensive ward on down by the time he does realize that it's going on, especially with the Ash arrow. Rather the Hawkeye vision to reveal it. Tien says it's too late. You've fallen for our master plan. In jumps Hex Flash, only to be outdone by the Renekton, who's getting it done right now, tanking up the world and more. But Lemus opens up the kill count. In jumps Jovi with the one-man ult, only on Securak, however. And as he slingshots back, Sherm puts him in the grave and finds a double kill. Coley, the one fed member, the one AP source, not to be enough. And that's our first ace of the game.
Yeah, and we see Styx being over-aggressive there, walking in way too far ahead of his team. Tien finds the initial engage onto him, and, you know, with the Ash going down as the first member from Ion, it's so hard to match up the DPS coming out of so many carries from Ground Zero, and that's going to be the first ace of the game going over to them.
Certainly is. Such a dicey situation. You've got to really overextend yourself to try and find vision. Are they still on the Baron? Are they not? Are they actually going to peel away from this one? But by that time, you've just given too much time for Ground Zero to then pounce upon you.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it was a really good setup by Ground Zero. You know, even though the Baron was dying really slow, their initial plan was to never finish the Baron unless the enemy team does not react at all. They had a really good setup with Tien playing for the flank. They also had Fido in the top side jungle, so they just had multiple flanks from multiple angles, and they really abused the fact that Styx was out of position there.
They certainly did. Dicey situation as a result, but some nice itemization being picked up by both these AP junglers. You can see the verdant barrier there, the components towards this Banshees. On the side of Shern, whereas Coley has gone for that full rush, but the biggest difference with the fact that the Zhonya's is there too. Yes, the Flash is still down, but the Zhonya's is such a massive part of what makes Lilia strong. Yeah,
and I really like that Shern didn't complete the Banshees. You know, he's just sitting on the component of the Verdant Barrier, so he does get the Spell Shield, which is so effective against the Ash Arrow and the Solar Flare. But then he goes straight for the Zhonya's, which means that he won't be getting picked off like, you know, we see Zoe right now.
Yeah, really unfortunate for him there, right? Jumps across the wall once again. Very paranoid about, are they on this Baron or are they not? So difficult for Ion to not only force themselves through the mid lane, but to get some vision to understand what Ground Zero's next move is.
Yeah, and we get to see the same setup again. Tien on the flank, doing his best to zone the enemy out. Coley does have access to the flash, so if Ground Zero do want to play this for a flip, it would be the case, but, you know, Ion's just going to walk away, you know, posture for the Dragon if they do want to set up for that one, but I think that Ground Zero still has the ability to fight this next objective.
And I wouldn't put it past me, if Ion went all in on this Dragon to say we must get ourselves in a soul point position, there's nothing to stop Ground Zero saying, we have 6 Void Grub stacks. We just run it straight down mid with a Baron buff, and that's not a worthwhile trade for you.
Yeah, and, like, this is once again, Ground Zero were being forced to react to a play, but all of a sudden, you know, they're like, all right, guys, you want to go Dragon? We're going to go down your mid lane. Really nice wall by Coley to deny the wave here, but they're not really abusing this wall to take the Dragon right now. They're kind of just following what's happening. Shern does have the Zhonya's. What's it going to look like?
He's looking for it. Doesn't need to pop the Zhonya's anytime soon. Jovi snaps back to cancel that sleep. Goes in for that one-man ultimate, but it just gets Arcane shifted out of the Solar Flare. Doesn't connect, but Styx does take down Tien, who is hunting for a solo on the flanking side. As they pepper them from the angle, Jovi jumps in once again to keep them interested, flashing out of that lightning crash, but is getting run down in his own jungle by 4 hungry Ground Zero members. He's making them work for it. He's got a fair bit of mobility, but will Ground Zero give up that chase? Arcane shifts back into the Enchanted Crystal Arrow! What a kill! What a fantastic pick from Jovi! Head in his hands from the side of Fido, down for 40 seconds as he has to watch this fight with a grey screen. And Jovi, look, he did as much as he could there to keep them interested, but he eventually will fall down too.
He's done it. He's done it, Skivvy. He finally turns around at the end, you know. Really, really scrappy fight from both sides, but I think Styx did such a good job there. You know, we see him walking in. It looks like he's inting, but he's creating so much space for the rest of his team to be able to clean up there. And we see the teleport coming out of Doraemon.
Uh-oh.
No flash.
Lemus, you don't want to be here. CC'd all in place by the Gragas. Didn't expect him, quite honestly. And yeah, that juicy target of that low HP Talia is not the one they'll find. So as the dust does settle, a fight that took so long, we literally went from Baron into this massive little stalemate with the Weaver's Wall. Finally, Iron find that Drake.
Yeah, and this is one of the the causes, because Ground Zero have stayed on the map back to back. They got a lot of standing gold in their inventory, whereas Ion have reset already. They're setting up the next objective. This is why, even though this fight is so scrappy, there's no ult from Tien. He doesn't have the same pressure onto Styx. He's able to kite him out. There's so much time being bought by the members of Ion while they're taking down these crucial members, and this is just a really, honestly, clutch play by Zobi to buy so much time, and then be able to re-engage with that Enchanted Crystal Arrow and find that kill that really, nets them this ability to get back in the game, because we are looking at around an 8,000 gold lead, I believe, still. But there's a lot of standing gold in the map, Skinny, and if they're able to pick up these outer towers, it's going to be a completely different game.
It certainly is. There was an objective bounty on the Drake when they picked it up, so certainly going to help their cause, but a little bit comical. Really does feel bad, right, when you flash out of what you think is that arrow and ultimately you still get hit by it. So the fight does take a bit of time, and as we close out this one, yeah, nice little disengage to find two in the tail end and to make sure that, look, we are the two major sources of AP we both are going to carry.
Yeah, we also see the Zhonya's coming out of Collie now, so he picked up an entire item after that team fight. His damage is going to be much higher now, something they have to really respect. Shern does have access to the flash in his next team fight, though, so it's going to be much easier for him to navigate how this fight functions. But we start to see the QSSs coming out of members from Ion, so maybe the sleep won't be as impactful as it was in these earlier fights, and finally they're going to be able to create some space for these major carries from Ion to be able to do some damage.
Yeah, it just gives you a little bit of extra versatility, right, in terms of how you want to set up for these fights, especially as the Yone. We saw him in that previous skirmish snap back to cancel out the lilting lullaby, but then the QSS does afford you the ability to make sure you don't need to use that all the time. You can keep that uptime high to get the kill and to be that menace that we know Yone can. But either way, it is still a pretty big gold lead, still around that 8k margin, as you said beforehand. It doesn't look like that's changing any time soon. Still Ion yet to find a turret, but it's 6 scrubs, 6 towers, and just look how far pushed up they are as a unit.
Yeah, we have so much standing gold on the map for Ion Simi, so if there is another throw from Ground Zero, I think this gold lead will just disappear completely. But so much aggression coming out of the Ground Zero side, playing on multiple lanes and just making sure that they're taking camps, denying Collie from getting any resources at this point in the game, because the only farm he's going to get is from these pushing waves. He cannot enter his jungle as long as Ground Zero is still on the map.
Yeah, very difficult for him to find any kind of essence in that regard, as you say, but builds are mirrored apart from the boot choices between these two junglers. Elsewhere, though, you're starting to see that gold lead truly come into fruition. Fido well and truly ahead, and I think it's even more evident when you look at Lemus, even on that board there, right? Up by a handsome nearly 4,000 gold. Look, this Zeri will be a problem.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's so good into the enemy comp. We have to see Jovi posturing for this 1v1, and he will absolutely win this if he does find Fido, but there are so many members from Ground Zero coming, and Fido does have access to, kite this member out pretty easily.
And he certainly does. Flashes up and available for him in about 10 seconds time, so we had that luxury as well if needed to be, but wasn't to be. As we'll just take the safer option and say, just look, attend to these lanes. Maybe they look to go for an inhibitor, and we can farm up some gold if the game just doesn't end from that point on, but we're working our way towards yet another Baron spawn in 40 seconds, and if we have another bit of a fiesta afterwards, there's a potential Ocean Soul for Ion 2.
Yeah, this is 4 items sitting in the inventory of Lemus, and Jovi being caught out right now might mean he's going to be able to show off how much damage he can do in this next fight.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, it's a losing battle there, unfortunately. 4 members would have surrounded from every angle. There was no get a jail-free card, and it's as simple as that for Ion to say the pressure is against you. You need to try and do something to claw back this near 10,000 gold deficit. Maybe a little bit too hasty on that occasion, Tally.
Yeah, definitely caught out of position. He had no reason to be that overextended in the top side. There's no objective to really contest ball. There's no reason to start pushing out aggressively, especially without your members backing you up. It'd be much better if he is baiting and that was the fight that could potentially happen, but, just caught out. Fortunately, he does have access to the teleport, so if this fight does extend around the Baron, if they do want to contest this, he can teleport in and impact this fight.
Let's see if they find any kind of success going for that Baron dance, because at this late game moment when level 16s are pretty much across the board, the damage is so high that that Baron, by the time you're there, it is already gone. Picked up by the smite of the Lilia. Then they say it's time to fight thereafter. They look at Dorian, the full combo on towards him, stunned himself up with the body slam disengage, and down for 45 seconds as the rest of Ground Zero. So we've got 2 lanes to push towards, and we're not afraid to go ham.
Yeah, and they should feel very comfortable to push in, break the base, because without that main front line coming out of Ion, it's so easy for, the squishy members of Ion to be caught out of position. I think that, Lemus has the potential to flash and find a really big edge, especially with a nice sleep like this.
Ace is broken, the snapback once again from the Yone, cancelled it out, so only Hex Flash that gets locked in place with that sleep, but still. Solar Flare's been burnt, so the impact is already fairly muted. Do they decide to go for the flash Zenith Blade to try and overforce their hands? Styx doesn't have the Ash ult just yet, but they're still keeping them interested. There is the flinch that the Fate Seal goes on in and snaps into two. Fighter takes him down as his dead body returns back to their base, as does Styx in quick succession. And that 4 items there, we said it would be a problem, and it certainly is proof right there. With members down for such a long time, this is Ground Zero looking to put this game to rest and showing that, hey, it's another chapter in what makes us such a formidable team to go up against. A new style look for Ground Zero, but just so clean at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. A very clean performance from Ground Zero. Even though it's quite longer than the usual games we expect out of this team, I still think they did a really good job to, snowball, especially in the individual 1v1s, and push that lead, make sure Schoenfire was always getting the camps, always defending his own camps, and I think it was just a really well-played game from Ground Zero, and it's another showing of this play style that they keep solidifying on.
Yeah, comprehensive performance really across the books there, showcasing new champions in new roles, but also just showcasing expertise. I mean, kudos to Ion, especially to Cole Lee there, despite being I think it was like 80 CS behind at the end of the game there, from having such a rough early game to make sure that he was such a